Thanks for calling the call-in line of the Michael Duke.
Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
Say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show.
The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
It's my rifle, it's my gun, this is for fighting, it's for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. That's right. The one day a week that we dedicate to the Second Amendment, to the right to keep and bear arms, to firearms laws, tips, tricks, tactics, gun chatter, whatever you want to do. It's where those of us who are part of that 2A community and gun culture get to come together and hang out and just talk about what I think is one of the most important, if not the most important, rights that we have available to us, inalienable rights that we have available to us. As old Chuck Heston just said there in the intro, the right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows all the other rights to exist. It's the only one. I mean, you can't, do you really have freedom of speech if somebody's trying to beat you down, if jackbooted thugs are kicking in your door and prosecuting you, if you're getting labeled for misinformation or hate speech simply because you're saying something that somebody else disagrees with, right? That's kind of where we're at. Are you really truly safe in your persons and in your home? Is your Fourth Amendment protected if you can't protect yourself from people who want to come in and invade your home? That is really the big question right there. It is one of the most important rights that we can have, and it is the one that's important for us to continue to protect. And there's been an erosion on it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution today, would look at what's going on and go, what the heck is what? I've often said that if the framers were still alive today, they'd probably be in some tavern talking a little treason. You know what I mean? because they fought a revolution over a 3% tax on mail, let alone everything else that's going on out there, not being represented, and everything, et cetera, et cetera. So coming up on today's program, we're going to be diving into it here with you in this first hour with some headlines and some discussions and some talk. I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines in hour one for what I like to call gun Q&A. It's gun Q&A all day. All right, got questions and answers. And why do I do that? Well, because my job is to try and demystify the firearm. So if you have questions about guns, I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. And the rule is, there's no such thing as a dumb gun question, because what we're trying to counteract here is 40, 50, 60 years of the news media, the entertainment industry, and everybody else basically filling your head full of nonsense about what you can and can't do with a firearm, about what it is, about what's practical, about what makes sense, about what is lawful, what is legal. And that's most people's exposure to firearms. Here in Alaska, we're pretty lucky because most of us are already pretty firearm savvy. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here in many ways to many folks here in Alaska. Every now and then we come across, I remember a call. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Chris Cheng is Topshot champion, is going to be joining us in hour two, and then Willie Waffle. Sorry, I should have gotten that out of the way before I went on my monologue. I still remember the call. This would be, almost close to 10 years ago. It was eight years ago. I remember I was doing the show, and that's back when it was just on plain old terrestrial radio in Anchorage only. And we were doing a 3-hour morning show. And I remember it was a Firearms Friday, and I got a call from a lady who was listening, and she said, I'm not from Alaska. She said, I'm up here visiting my brother. And she said, I am from, I want to say she was from New York or Connecticut. It was one of the East Coast states where obviously they were very anti-gun. And she said, I've been visiting my brother for the last 4 weeks. And for the last 4 weeks, I've listened to Firearms Friday with my brother, and I am vehemently anti-gun. And she said, over the last 4 weeks, you've made me think about a lot of the things that I have thought or had been told. And then last week, after listening to your show, my brother convinced me to go out to the gun range with him. And I would have never, ever done that if I had not already been thinking about some of the things that you talked about. And so we went out to the gun range, and she said it was a fantastic experience. And the long and the short of the whole conversation, this is like a 25-minute conversation that I had with this lady on the air. And she said, basically, the long and the short of it was, when she was going back home, she was going to see about how she could get a gun for herself, for personal protection and everything else. Now, that's like the one time I've ever had somebody actually call in and said that I changed their minds on firearms. But I still count that as such a major victory, because that's what we did. We changed hearts and minds. I don't expect that to happen because it was a unique, fluky circumstance, right? But maybe somebody's just tripping along the dial or stumbles across us on the internet while we're broadcasting and says, I'm not pro-gun, I'm not anti-gun, but I have some questions. And we know nobody ever wants to look ignorant or foolish. I don't know if it's human nature. I don't mind it so much personally. I'm very curious, and I'm fascinated by knowledge. And so if I don't know something or don't understand something, I'll ask somebody to explain it to me. I don't really have that problem. But even I sometimes am like, well, I don't want to look stupid if I, there's got to be some circumstances, right? So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make it so that you don't have to feel foolish. You don't have to feel embarrassed that you don't know. It could be a simple question about a gun. It could be a complex question. Maybe it's a question that nobody's ever asked before, or maybe it's one that we've answered 100 times. That's what Gun Q&A is about, just answering those questions. Which end is the pointy end? Okay, well, we can tell you about that. What's important? Why? Maybe you have a question based on something that the news media has said to you. Why do you need a gun? Why do you need weapons of war on the street? All these kind of things. And I'll do my best to answer it. Not because I'm a genius as far as that goes, but I've been doing this a long time. And I have the smartest listeners in the world. So we can crowdsource this. There's a lot of gun people in the chat room and who are listening on the air. And so we can crowdsource the answers for a lot of this. And I do have a black belt in Google Fu. So we can figure it out. If I don't know it right off the top of my head, we might be able to find it for you out there as well. So that's what Firearms Friday is all about. It's about a coming together. It's about a demystification. It's about education. It's about edification. It's about all the shuns at the end. The education, edification, conversation. All right, I'm done with that. Anyway, so 319-527-3864 is the phone number. Now, here we are a mere, what is this? We're 3.5 weeks away. 3.5 weeks away now from the election. And some people, probably nobody on this program, probably everybody who's listening to this show has probably already decided who they're going to vote for. But there's still some independents and undecideds out there that just find one of the other candidates just unpalatable for one reason or another. Or maybe they're just still trying to decide on which of the lesser of two evils to vote for, right? Because, it's kind of par for the course around here in this country. It's like always it's always par for the course. We're always voting for the lesser of two evils. Newsflash. If you're voting for the lesser of two evils, they're both still evil. All right. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But it's not like we have a plethora of choices. It's the binary on, off, black, white, yes, no. It's just the two choices essentially is what you're getting right now. There are some other candidates out there, but the mainstream is only focusing on these two major candidates. So we have to look at them through the lens of some of the things that they're doing. More pro-freedom, more pro-free speech. Are they, more or less free speech? Are they more or less freedom? Are they for bigger or for smaller government? That's the big question with both of these, because I don't even know. It seems like they're both for bigger government, right? Because Trump's got all these ideas about how he did say he would put Elon Musk up as the czar of, was it efficiency? I can't remember. Basically looking at how they can streamline the government, which reminds me of Ronald Reagan's, what was the name of the report? It was named for the guy that put it all together. I can't remember I hate it when I get that. Ronald Reagan's government efficiency report. And it was called the I can't find it. I can't find the name of it. Anyway, he had a report and he put it all together, and it pointed out a lot of things. I don't think that was the one where it was $600 hammers and $500 toilet seats in the things, but it was one of those programs that found a lot of inefficiencies and cost overruns in government, and everybody was outraged for about 2.3 minutes, and then they just summarily forgot about it. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because we pointed out, and maybe Elon Musk would do a great job with that. And it would be great. But we have to look at what each candidate offers. So bigger government, smaller government, more free speech, less free speech, more freedom, less freedom. Where they stand on guns. Well, let's just say that neither one has a stellar track record so far. Now, one is obviously better than the other because one has called for an outright ban on guns, an outright mandatory buyback on guns, has told you that you have no need for guns, while the other is just kind of lukewarm and doesn't really care about your gun rights one way or the other. That's what it's all about. That's kind of where we're at right now. But it seems like the one that was so proudly an anti-gun warrior has been running away from a lot of her stuff right now. And we're going to be talking about, in fact, she has embraced gun ownership. Yeah. I mean, she's one of us, right? That's what she's trying to say. You ever heard of the term zumboed? I feel like we're being zumboed by Kamala Harris at this point. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute when we get back. As we continue with Firearms Friday. And again, the phone lines are open. So any question is fair game as long as it's related to guns and firearms. Feel free to ask it today. And, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. We continue with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Good morning, my friends. How are you on this happy Friday? I'm just glad that there's not more snow on the ground. It only snowed a little bit yesterday, but boy, the pucker factor was high when I walked out of the house yesterday. I was like, oh God, what else do I got to get done out here? Get cracking the whip on those kids to get all the stuff cleaned up around the edge of the house and everything. And oof, man, I don't know. I've got things. Oh, hey, question for Rick. Rick, do you need some gas cans? I'm asking if you need some gas cans. Let me know if you need some gas cans. I'm downsizing my collection. So if you need some of that, let me know. We'll get you squared away. Anyway, what else we got here? Let me see what else you guys have been. I saw Brian's question. Brian, we'll get to that question when we get back to the airwaves, probably a little later in the show, maybe the top of the next hour, because I want to get through this Kamala Harris stuff here. If the third Chris was to show up, then when Chris Cheng is here, then that would be the most special, because then it would be Chris squared, C3, C to the third power. That's right. Did you say you have a black belt in tofu? No, I like tofu, but no, my Google foo is strong. I can do whatever you want. Yes, I'm going electric. I'm totally eliminating all the going electric, totally electric. No, I just have too much. I have too much. And I need to downsize. I need to downsize, baby. So yeah. Anyway, if or you, Brian, if you need some, let me know. We'll, I got half a dozen, I think, that I can get rid of. Anyway, good morning, my friends. Good morning. And thanks for coming in. I guess I'm all caught up here. She bought her Glock with the money she made at McDonald's. I'm sure. I mean, with all the registration and the training and everything else required, where in California, you can't just buy a $500 handgun. You got to go through the whole process, and it takes a year and costs you $1,000. I mean, how is that helping anybody, right? I mean, how is that a right delayed is a right denied kind of thing? That's the thing right there. The Grace Commission. Oh man, my brain. Thank you, Brian. Brian saves me. This is why Brian is a moderator, because he can sometimes, I swear. I mean, I should do more Sudoku or some or maybe more crosswords or something, because dang, sometimes I'm like, I know the word, it's on the tip of my tongue, I just can't remember it. Maybe I should be taking some of that brain jolt stuff that Joe Rogan's always talking about. Yes, they're all pre-EPA, Bill. They're all pre-EPA. Well, not all of them. 2 of them aren't, but the rest of them are, because I hate those things. Anyway, Terry says, and this is Terry, I feel your pain. Terry says, I mean, this is the weirdest conversation ever to have on the internet with all the people out there. But Terry says, how does a person end up with so many gas cans? We had 24. What the heck? I know, they seem to multiply, right? One year I was out. Well, I'll tell you, one year I was out at a garage sale. I used to have pretty big weaknesses for garage sales. I don't have much anymore. Kind of weaned myself off of it. But a guy had a bunch of NATO style jerry cans. I don't know if you know what the NATO style jerry cans are, but they're, instead of the screw on jerry cans, they've got the flip top with the spout and everything. And he had like 10 of them. And he wanted $5 a piece for them. And I bought them all. I'm not giving those away. I'm keeping those. But yeah, so anyway, that kind of made some of my other cans obsolete. So yeah, we'll do a radio auction for gas cans. That's what we're trying to do. But that's the thing. I'm like, all of a sudden they multiplied. How did I end up with so many? I only needed a couple. Why do I need? Why so many? All right. It's Friday, man. We're just letting our hair down. We're just hanging out. We're loving it. It's all good. Let's get let's get going on. Because you're a farmer. That's why. Why? What? All right, here we go.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
Okay. I mean, all right. That's okay. Welcome back to the program. Let's continue on here in hour 1 of this beautiful Firearms Friday. Again, reminding you the phone lines are open if you have any questions or comments. Brian's asked a good question in the chat room, which we will get to here shortly. But I do want to keep talking about because we are so close to the election. I want to talk about the positions of both the candidates on the Second Amendment. Now, Trump has tried to dance the dance. You know, he's niced up to the NRA. He's niced up to the GOA. He's niced up to some of the different organizations because he stepped in it back during his presidency, right? We know he put the bump stock ban in place. He talked about using red flag laws to just take the guns and worry about due process later. That's a quote from him, and some other things. You know, he's kind of wishy-washy on it because I don't think he really personally cares one way or the other. And he's a populist, and so he wants to do whatever gets him the most nods and applause. That's really what he's about. And sometimes he misreads what's, the long-term consequences of those kind of things. So it happens, So anyway, that's that's kind of where Trump is at, and I can understand that. And then Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has really made no bones about where she's been over all these years. But now all of a sudden, she wants to be your friend. She wants to be just like you. She was raised middle class. Didn't you hear that? I mean, 1,000,000 times how she was raised middle class. Although if you look at her upbringing, I have some questions about what really constitutes middle class. But then she's like, well, I have a gun. I'm a gun owner, right? Which has raised some eyebrows amongst some people because, that's the first thing we hear. I mean, this reminds us of, Jim Zumbo, who was a hunter, a writer for one of the hunting magazines, that got all up involved in the gun argument when he said that that all assault weapons should be banned, essentially, because only the hunting guns really mattered. And that led to his downfall. By the way, he was pretty much pushed right out of the industry, and thus the phrase "being zumboed" came up when you try and play one side against the other. But here's what she's doing. She's basically saying, hey, I'm a gun owner. I'm just like you. She's trying to reach into the middle, trying to distance herself from her past support for everything from an outright handgun ban in San Francisco to an assault weapons ban to an assault weapons mandatory buyback. I mean, all these things that have been talked about. But some people are asking, I will say this, I've never been a huge fan of some of the mainstream news media, but 60 Minutes has consistently been pretty good on a lot of these issues over the years. I don't know what's going on over there, but they always seem to really put the point on. Now, she had an interview over there at 60 Minutes, and I don't remember the guy's name, and I apologize. But she had an interview, and he asked some very, very good questions. I've seen excerpts from the interviews on various topics, and I got to be honest with you, when she doesn't have a teleprompter in front of her and she is off script and asked to speak off the cuff, I mean, that's why all you hear is the cackle, right? I mean, that's why you hear the cackle all the time, because she's laughing because she's nervous because she doesn't know what to say.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
I mean, that cackle is just, it's all part and parcel of the process, and she uses it all the time. It's 60 Minutes interview, though. This guy hit her with a plethora of what I thought were really good questions. And then they came to guns. And I want to talk about her response here for just a minute. He asked the question about her stance because she was quoted as saying that she has a gun, and if you come into her home, you're going to get shot, which sounds like something that I would say, right? So that must make her more like me, even though she's been against a handgun, been for a handgun absolute ban and all these other things that we've talked about. Well, he asked her the question, and here is Kamala Harris on 60 Minutes.
You recently surprised people when you said that you are a gun owner. And then if someone came into your house...
That was not the first time I've
talked
about it. That's not the first time I've talked about it.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And I mean, look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement. And so there you go.
Have you ever fired it?
Yes. Of course I have. At a shooting range. Yes, of course I have.
Okay. So what? My background is in law enforcement. So there you go. Because he's like, why do you have a Glock? Why did you buy that one? Can she articulate why she buys it? No. Except for the fact that Glock, although it is not the darling of the current administration because people have been making go-fast switches for Glocks. They've been machining them and 3D printing them and everything else. And they've been trying to take Glock to task for people misusing Glock's products. I mean, Glock is not providing a full auto switch to people out there, but people are making them. And so now they want Glock to completely redesign their handgun, or there's talk about making an executive order to ban the importation of Glocks. The problem is that Glocks are the #1 handgun in the country for law enforcement. That is standard issue for almost every law enforcement agency in the country. Right. And so when she says, well, I was in law enforcement. So there you go. Okay. She can't articulate it because she doesn't know a damn thing about guns. She was probably issued. It was probably one that was issued by the state, which raises some questions for me because Coleon Noir pointed out that there's only one type of Glock that's legal in California. and that is an older Glock. It's one of the older models. It's the Gen 3s. Gen 1, Gen 2s, and Gen 4s are illegal in California. So she either had to have gotten, and how did she keep it after she left being the prosecutor, DA, attorney general of the state of California? How was she able? Is it state property? Is she holding on to state property that nobody told her? I mean, there's a lot of questions there on that, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Just the cackle, and of course I've shot it. Of course I've gone to the gun. Really? I mean, she sounds so comfortable with it. Doesn't it just make you feel all warm and fuzzy about how, of course, she knows what's going on? Well, this has led to some problems and some questions. The Trace, which is a gun control, quote unquote news site that's backed by Michael Bloomberg, recently spoke to several pro-gun control academics who are a little concerned about all of Harris's Glock talk on the campaign trail. Here's what they write in the Trace. Vice President Kamala Harris has touted her gun ownership in several media appearances over the last month, telling Oprah Winfrey that if someone breaks into her house, they're going to get shot. Most recently, in an interview on 60 Minutes that aired on October 7th, she said she owns a Glock pistol and has practiced with it at the shooting range. I will note that she said she didn't say she's practiced. She said she has shot it at the range. But that's not indicative of practice. Practice is common, repetitive. She shot it. Does that mean she's proficient with it? I highly doubt it. But anyway, Harris's remark appeared to be aimed at swaying undecided right-leaning voters ahead of the presidential election. In doing so, however, she seems to have embraced a popular firearm industry assumption unsupported by the vast majority of scientific evidence. Scientific. That the best way to guarantee your safety is to keep a gun in your home. There's plenty of research going back to the early 90s showing that when you own a gun, it increases your risk dramatically for homicide, suicide, and unintentional injury with a firearm, says Daniel Semenez, a Rutgers University criminologist who is studying defensive gun use. I think Harris has really missed an opportunity to signal to voters that she has taken this risk assessment seriously. I mean, Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms says the only signal Harris is trying to give to voters is that she's not a gun grabber. Which, again, that's what she's trying to do, but it doesn't belay all the stuff that she's done in the past, which we're going to get to here in a moment. Surprisingly, the Trace actually did bring up her past advocacy for banning most commonly owned firearms in the country. They talk about twice she supported legislation to ban civilians from purchasing the same weapon she owns, once in San Francisco while serving as the city's district attorney, and once in part as an amicus brief in the landmark Heller case at the Supreme Court. In San Francisco, she not only wanted people to not be able to own or buy or transfer firearms or ammunition, she wanted an outright ban on handguns in San Francisco. A ban. Of course, she would be one of the only ones who would be exempt from that ban. So, I mean, I guess it's okay, right? The Semenez, the Rutgers professor we just quoted a minute ago, said the risks associated with gun ownership should not dissuade every prospective gun owner from buying a gun, but each person has to take into account their profession, their lifestyle, their storage practices, their past experiences. Because again, this whole idea is that if you have a gun in your home, you're more likely to kill yourself or someone else with it, is one of the most, that's like saying if you have a man in your home, you're most likely to, sexually assault someone else because there's a man in your home. I mean, it's a tool like any other, folks. It's a tool like any other. But again, Kamala Harris is not just stuck on, portraying herself now as a champion of the Second Amendment and as a gun owner, because she can't get back to that. She can't get back and get away from some of the things in her past, things that were just, again, a handful of months ago, 20, 30, 40 months ago, they were, some of these things were out there, including things like the assault weapons ban.
We want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books. While you try to create safe and welcoming places, where our children can learn, extremists attack our freedom to live safe from gun violence.
We need reasonable gun safety laws. There is no reason why we have assault weapons on the streets of a civil society. They are weapons of war. They are designed to kill a lot of people quickly.
And it is a false choice to suggest you are either in favor of the Second Amendment or you want to take everyone's guns away. I am in favor of the Second Amendment, and I believe we need to reinstate the assault weapons ban.
So, I mean, this is the woman who's putting all those things out. But now, she didn't want to talk about any of that. They're going to distance themselves from all those things. I mean, she doesn't want to talk about where she could be going in we're not going to talk about that. And the thing is, here's the worst part. She's not denying it. They're just refusing to talk about it. But what about, so maybe she doesn't get an assault weapons ban in, but maybe she wants to do, I mean, what's the favorite catechism of the anti-gun crowd? If only we were like Australia. If only we were like Australia, where they forced everybody, maybe, that'll never happen in America, right? Because we wouldn't have a forced buyback. That would never happen, right?
Do you believe in the mandatory buyback of quote unquote assault weapons? And whether or not you do, how does that idea not go against fundamentally the Second Amendment?
Great question. I do believe that we need to do buyback. I'll tell you, when elected president, if the United States Congress continues to fail to have the courage to do something about this, I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea.
So first of all, let me just point out her anchor. 2 million assault weapons that are, what they're calling assault weapons, semi-automatic military style rifles. 2 million? Try 25 million, Kamala. Try 20. It's Kamala, right? I pronounced it right. It's 25 million weapons of war we do need a buyback. And she's going to use executive action to stop the importation of it. That really is not going to matter because most of them are domestically produced. AR styles are mostly domestic produced. The AKs, a lot of them are kits that are imported and then they build the rest here. So maybe those would dry up, but the ARs, most of them are built domestically. So what are you going to do about that? Right? But she believes in a mandatory buyback. This is in her heart of hearts. Nothing has changed, folks. Nothing has changed. How do we know that? Well, because the Harris campaign has declined to comment on her support of a lot of these things. It's not that they're refuting it. It's not that they're even saying, she's changed her position. They are just declining to report. As Conservative points out, this is from Semaphore. As conservatives point out, whenever Harris paints herself as a gun-loving American, the vice president's previously discussed mandatory buybacks of assault rifles or anything else. Today, her campaign has said she wouldn't push such an initiative. In 2005, by the way, she supported a ballot measure that would ban pistols, but her campaign declined to comment on the record whether that remains her stance. So they didn't even softball that one. They just declined to comment. So do you really think that she's given up on her old wicked ways? Or is she just saying what you want to hear? Again, I'm preaching to the choir on this, but I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of this whole thing. Just like we pointed out the hypocrisy of Donald Trump saying we'll take the guns and worry about due process later. All right, we got a couple lines on hold, including Fred in Rhode Island. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free ticket radio.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Hiya. I see Fred's on the line, and I've got one more caller after Fred. So hold the line, callers. We'll be to you here in just a minute. Let me go back over here. Yeah. I mean, The handgun ban in San Francisco was legislated by Senator Dianne Feinstein. It wasn't Kamala. It was Kamala. In fact, she was one of the ones that was one of the sponsors as the district attorney. She was one of the most ardent supporters. This is not just me talking. Coleon Noir talked about this. Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms talked about this. Alan Gottlieb from Second Amendment Foundation. They all talked about this specific one where she wanted to ban handguns. So, Jeannie, I'm sorry. Dianne Feinstein may have been part of that or part of another ban on handguns, but Kamala was a key player in that. So, unfortunately, you're in this case, you're wrong. But again, Jeannie, you're also right when she said she's lying about it. Don't believe her. It's pandering. That's 100% true. That's 100% true. Let's see. Yes, but does she know how to shoot it, or has she ever shot it? Oh yeah, she shot it at a gun range once. That's what she said, Audrey, right? Right? Did she know how to shoot it, or has she ever shot it? Yeah. Being the owner of a gun doesn't mean much, right? All right, let me I'm going through here. She was in law enforcement as a prosecutor, not a pistol packing LEO. Yeah, no, look, but we all know that a lot of times prosecutors and attorney generals, and we know that a lot of times they're armed for their own defense, right? They may have security or they may not, but a lot of them are armed for their own defense, and they get special exclusions because they are technically in law enforcement, right? So it is what it is. Is it a guest slot on Firearms Friday? Glock talk to Cammie. We could talk to Kamala. We could talk to Kamala about Glock talk. I'm going through here. Yeah. Oh man. Her voice is like fingernails on a chalkboard. I agree. Yeah, she thinks there are 2 million. That's what I had to laugh about. When she's like, do we have to worry about these 2 million ARs in the country? I mean, I'm just like, oof. Anyway, yeah. SCOTUS has ruled. She got the memo. No gun bans on semi-autos. I'm going back through here. I posted a video, says Charlie, of Kamala talking about guns on Facebook, and Facebook took it down. Well, yeah, that's the thing. No, I never did hear from Cam Edwards, Rick. I'll reach back out to him again. I've been a little busy. I'll be honest with you guys. I got a lot of things kind of going on in the background right now, things you guys don't know about. And I have never been so busy in my entire life, ever. I mean, this has been the busiest 2 months, and this next month will be even busier still for about the next month or so. It has been, I got a lot of balls in the air, folks. A lot of things going on. Big changes coming. Anyway, what is there here? Making the world a better place. Did she stay? Yeah. She did say on our streets. The other 23 million are in safes and gun closets. Yeah, that's what it is. Looks pretty empty in my background right now. That's because I'm in what do you want? Are you trying? What did I say that makes you think that there's a lot of stuff going? I mean, should I have plates behind me spinning? And I have to turn around every 2 minutes to get them spinning again? I don't know, Frank. What are you looking for there? Do tell, says Terry. We are your people. You guys will be the first to know. All right. You guys will be the first to know when I'm ready to make any kind of announcement or revelation or reveal, groundbreaking press conference, whatever. Oh, all right. Fred's on the line. Fred, I know you're there. Hold the line, brother. We are 30 seconds out. Well, 37 seconds out, and we're getting ready to doing things right. I am going to be updating the studio too. Yeah, we got some things to do. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. You said you had a lot of stuff going on in your background. Well, that's true. This background is blank, but in the real world. All right, here we go. Jumping back into it. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications. And let's get to it. Here we
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Yeah, I mean, those penguins are vicious. We've talked about this before. Penguins, assault penguins, man. Remember the trunk monkeys? Remember the ads of the trunk monkeys where you'd open the trunk and there'd be a monkey? No. Put an assault penguin in there. That's what would really, ooh, baby, crazy. All right, let's get over to the telephones. Fred from Rhode Island is joining us this morning with his thoughts. So let's go over there and see what he has to say. Good morning, Fred. How you doing?
Morning, Mike. How you doing today?
You know, it's Friday, my friend. Every Friday is no matter what.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Okay, and as far as Kamala Harris goes and, her stance and, the waltz and all that, most professional people in this country have like a subtext after their name. Like a doctor has MD, a lawyer has Esquire. I think anybody who believes in Kamala Harris's Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment stand should have a subtext after their name. It's called gullible. I don't know how anybody could actually believe that nonsense. That she's all on board for that, and that's her actual position.
Well, because it's worked in the past, Fred, right? I mean, this is the problem. It's worked in the past for other politicians. They changed. I was for it before I was against it, right? Oh, I used to be for this or against this, and now I'm for it or against it because now I've seen the light and I've changed. And we all know that it's a ploy. We know that it's a ploy. We those people who are discerning know it's a ploy. Those people who are just kind of taking things at face value, they may like be, members have to change their minds. So they must be good people. I mean, they do it because it works, Fred. It works on a lot of people.
Well, the thing is, though, it works up to the point where, like I say, you have to be really gullible to, to take that with any kind of factual, truth. It's all nonsense. It's all BS. And this is what they live for, and this is why I think that people have got to wake up, smell the coffee here, and says, you can fool me once, and you can fool me twice, but after that, it's on me. You just have to be stupid to actually, fall for that nonsense. And as far as the assault weapons go, I mean, that's been a glitch for, some time, and especially last week you were going to get into Massachusetts and the grievous nonsense going on there of this governor. A real tyrant, an absolute tyrant.
Right.
And I think that what's going on over there should be, I think you kind of ran out of time last week.
Yeah, I ran out of time last week and I didn't. Yeah, I didn't get to it. I don't know if I'll get to it today, but what's going on in Massachusetts is an absolute shame. And Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms has been covering it pretty exhaustively. And the folks over the Truth About Guns, T-Tag, have been doing some good work on it as well. But yeah, what's going on in Massachusetts is almost criminal, in my opinion, as far as law-abiding citizens there being subjugated by the governor. She's a real piece of work over there.
Oh yeah, a real bitch. She's a real piece of work.
She's something.
But she doesn't care, And she thinks the whole thing with her is she's got the legislature behind her. And she sits there and she smashes all kinds of constitutional rights and bills. She doesn't care. And they sit there and they back her up. So that's how they get away with it. Nobody's going to call her out on it except that, the common folk who are being stepped on. And literally their rights are being stepped on big time. And, the legislature just goes along with it, saying, yeah, well, we're going to support Mary, Healy and whatever she wants to do. And, they just, to hell with the public. And I think it's impeachment time. You know, they should have a system. They should put, at some point in time, they should put a system in play in politics. If you sit there and you violate constitutional rights, you are up for impeachment by the government. I think the Congress and the Senate should come down on you like a ton of bricks and get you out of office immediately. And I think that would keep a lot of the people on track. I really would. They get away with way too much.
Yeah, I think what's going to
giving them too much power and no control. We used to have checks and balances. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is, the citizens in Massachusetts are going to have to go back, and they're going to have to go to the courts. And it's unfortunate that politicians continue to pass laws that are, quite honestly, blatantly unconstitutional, and then they force the public, whether it's individuals or organizations, to then have to take them to court and spend millions of dollars to litigate it in court when it's pretty obvious that it's unconstitutional to begin with. And that's what will have to happen. In the meanwhile, the law will go into effect and people will be in danger of prosecution and being essentially, I mean, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns, right? That doesn't mean just criminals will have guns. It means law-abiding citizens who refuse to participate in the law will become outlaws. And that's part of what's going to happen, I think, in these kind of situations. It is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that the politicians continue to force it to do it.
I mean, you look at China when they outlawed firearms in China. There are people in China who have firearms. I mean, they get them buried out in the rice fields or somewhere, but they have them. You know, there's a number of people out there who have them. You know, in lieu of prosecution and this and that and the other thing that they threaten them with. They're armed. There are people out there who are armed. So you know, wherever you go in the world, this tyranny exists. And it's nothing. And it's exactly what it is. It's tyranny, whether it be in the U.S. and Massachusetts or in China or in Russia. It doesn't make any difference. There are people who stand up and say, "We will not comply," and you can go take a long walk off a short pier, as far as we're concerned, because you are a tyrant, and we're not on board with it.
Well, and Fred, what's happening in Rhode Island? I know you guys have been facing some pretty stiff firearms laws there, and some changes as well over the last couple of years.
They hit us up with a 10-round magazine ban. They snuck that through on the 11th hour because they had a Senate committee that had a hearing on that. And they shot it down. They said, okay, we had a tie vote. It was like 6-6 or something. And they were just going to drop it. But they had this thing in play. And the Rhode Island legislature has this bill, has a bill in the Constitution, where if the House bill and the Senate bill have similar or exact wordings, then they can take it up. And they can take up the other side's bill and take it right to the floor for a vote. And that's how they got around it. It's very egregious. It's one of those things. It's put in play when there's like an absolute stalemate on something and they can't come to, they're loggerheads and they can't come to an agreement on anything.
Right.
They can use that, but they pull this out of the weeds and used it where they shouldn't have, because that's really not what it was intended to do, but they did it anyway. Typical Rhode Island. And
typical
they
politician.
did it anyway in lieu of common sense. That said, you should have let it die. And they took it to the floor. They got a vote on it, and they just squeaked it. I mean, it was only like about 3 or 4 votes that were in favor over the majority that were, the minority that were against it, and they got it through. Now they're trying to go for the assault weapons ban, which is a joke, because the assault weapons ban is on cosmetic features. But this is what people don't understand. It's all cosmetic features. It has nothing to do with the function or the efficiency or anything else, or the lethality of the firearm. Matter of fact, there are far more dangerous firearms out there than the AR-15 or the AK.
Right.
I mean, that's a joke. Really
no, and that's always been the problem.
All you have to do is look at Grandpa's 12-gauge shotgun with buckshot.
Well,
nothing more deadly than that.
That's
all. Muzzle loader, a 50 caliber muzzle loader. You only got one shot,
Yeah.
but boy, the damage that one shot can do with 50 cal.
Yeah.
Powder.
Well, that's always been the problem with the assault
Absolutely
weapons ban, Fred. That's always been the problem, is that they basically are making these bans a lot of times on cosmetic features that have no different in function on the rifle. Like you said, it's more about the semi-automatic. That's what they're really pushing for in the long run. Hold the line for a second, Fred. We're going to be right to you here during the break. Folks, we got more coming up. Hour 2 is dead ahead. Chris Cheng, Top Shot champion season 4, will be joining us. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. If you're headed into work and you got to go, be kind, love one another, live well. We'll be back with Hour 2 right after this. All right, let me go back and I'll let Fred finish his thought there. But that's the thing, Fred, is that These assault weapons ban have even the administration has admitted after the previous assault weapons ban expired, they could find, and the Rand Corporation did a big thing on it, they could find no discernible effect on crime or anything else with the assault weapons ban. There was just no, and I mean, we saw ads, right? I still remember the newspaper ad that had 3 different ARs, one on top of another, and it said, one of these is legal and 2 of them aren't. They all function the same. Can you tell the difference? And you couldn't, because it was, did it have a bayonet lug? Did it have a, did it have a barrel shroud or I can't even remember what all but it was like, it didn't matter. The gun still shot the same round at the same rate, at the same, with the same frequency. Right. It just didn't matter.
Well, the real culprit here, I figured out the real culprit here, in my opinion, is the news media. They love to spin things up, and they try to drive the bus. Their purpose in life is to report the news, not to create the news. And they've done it many times. They've kind of overstepped their bounds. Remember back in the day when the Chevy S10 pickups were blowing up and they were getting hit by the side because the gas tanks were unsupported? I think it was at NBC pull this off. They had a demonstration where they sit there and they tried to get, they hit one in a test in a test accident where they hit it and then they didn't blow up. So they got a model rocket motor and wired it up and stuck it in the gas tank. And when they hit it the next time, they hit the button and they and they literally exploded the truck. But it turned out later on they got caught with their fingers in the cookie jar when it turned out that they rigged that. They rigged that demonstration that they were sitting there pushing as cold hard fact. These people are liars. They do it for the ratings. They do it for their own gain. And they don't care who they step on, whose life they wreck, what kind of damage they cause, what kind of misinformation results in stupid legislation that results in a lot of BS rather than fact. And they're the culprits. They're behind a lot of this stuff, and I think they got to be taken down a notch. I don't know how you're going to do it. Boycott their products, boycott their sponsors, drive them out of business. Whatever it takes. Get competition in there to call them out within a minute after they sit there and they open their mouth and they come up with some kind of nonsense. Take them down and account the point to the public immediately. Expose them for the liars that they are, because they are liars.
Yeah.
They are scum.
All right, Fred. Well, I appreciate you sounding off with us today. As always, it's good to hear from you on Fridays. Thanks for calling in today.
Take care, Michael. Have a good week.
Fred from Rhode Island calling in. That leaves the lines open at 319-527-3864 if you would like to see us. Let me see here. I dial in anytime after 7:10 or 8:10. You're okay. Okay. Just sending Chris a message there as we go through. Jeannie says, Fred's right. That test was rigged. S10s are solidly built and safe. What? You mean they're not like the Pinto? Oh, man. That's just great. Jerica said, apparently she'd never heard that liner about the assault penguins. She said, oh, my gosh, that's hilarious. I had a friend in Florida who was convinced that our law enforcement used tactical penguins here in Alaska. Yes. Tactical assault penguins. I should get a t-shirt that has assault penguin. It has a penguin on it with pistols. Assault penguin. If I assault you with a penguin, does that make it? Yes. Yes, it does. That's what it's all about there. No penguins. Puffins. Puffins, assault puffins. I don't know if that's believable. Assault penguin, I could see. I mean, especially those big emperor penguins. Man, those things are BA, man. And they're like what, 3 or 4 feet tall? Those things could mess you up. You get a whole herd of assault penguins. How about zombie assault penguins? Oh, that'd be the worst, wouldn't it? That'd be the absolute worst. Brian says, off topic, I'm informed via pop-up ad that there is a new homeschool option. Okay. You planning on homeschooling, Brian? You've been visiting a lot of homeschooling websites? to get on those? People are drinking more than coffee this morning, says Rick. Yeah, possibly. I mean, it is Friday. There may be a little courage in my coffee. No, not really. Didn't have coffee this morning, which is unusual, but sometimes it happens. All right. What else do I want to talk about this morning? Let's see. The anti-gun bias. Why carry a gun? Oh, this is the story that I wanted to get to. Maybe we'll start with this story in hour 2. Why carry guns to polling places? Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms asked the question. Why carry guns to polling places? And then he says, this is why. I mean, yeah. Oof, man. But then Kamala Harris, man, just come on. Tell me it's not. You just don't. Every time don't tell me you just don't cringe every freaking time.
Well, I mean, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying no, we can't, let's say yes, we can.
I mean, instead of saying no, we can't, and we have to abide by the Constitution, let's just say yes, we can, and blow the Constitution away. Right? Let's just forget about that dusty old document that protects our rights. Let's just say yes, we can. All right, here we go. Hour 2 dead ahead, the Michael Duke Show.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show.
The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. Good morning and welcome to the program. We got one final segment here where phone lines are open at 319-527-3864. So if you want to call in and join us, you got just a little bit here. Chris Cheng is going to be joining us in a few minutes to talk about, all the hot news of the day and everything else. So feel free to jump into us on that. We're going to continue right now. I wanted to start this story. I wanted to make sure I got this story in before the end of the show today because I thought it was a great question. Tom Knighton over at BearingArms.com asked the question, why carry guns to polling places? Because of things like this. Throughout the nation, the anti-gun folks want to prohibit guns at polling places. They seem to think that, according to Tom, that we shouldn't be permitted to exercise more than one right at a time. They say that the presence of a firearm in a law-abiding citizen is political intimidation. Although, how would they ever know? I mean, right? I mean, how would they ever know? You don't have to understand the reason we want guns when we go to vote. It's all because of problems like this. This is the story out of the New York Post. An Afghan national allowed into the U.S. shortly after the Harris-Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan was charged on Tuesday with plotting an ISIS-inspired Election Day terror attack. Nasir Ahmad Twadeh, 27, was living in Oklahoma City on a special immigrant visa as he took steps to stockpile AK-47s and ammunition to carry out an attack on U.S. soil in the name of ISIS. He entered the U.S. in September of 21, just weeks after the Taliban regained control of Afghanistan, and he wanted to shoot up polling places around the southern Oklahoma and surrounding areas. He wanted to gather a bunch of people up and go shoot up polling places. Because why? Because they're gun-free zones, right? That's what he wanted. I mean, you want to know why I carry a gun? That's why I carry a gun right there, my friends. All right, let's go over to the phones real quick here before we jump into it with Chris, who's going to be with us in a second. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Ron in North Pole.
Hello, Ron. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I think that we can go even a little deeper into candidate Harris's attitude about the Constitution. Back in 2007, she made a public statement to the effect that citizens should not expect enforcement to come into their homes to determine if their firearm storage was safe, which is a direct attack on the Fourth Amendment.
Right. No, she said that. She said, yes, if you want to come in, you shouldn't. This is what she said, in fact, right here.
And just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home.
Oh, wait a second. Here it is.
And just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Right. Just because you're legal and lawful in the sanctity of your own home isn't going to stop us. Right, Ron? That's what she said.
That's correct.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of quotes that she's made over the last 5 years where she's talked specifically about those things. But don't worry, she's found a religion now, Ron. It should all be okay.
Yeah, convenience, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ron, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Catch you later.
All right, let's go over here. Looks like another Randy. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Duke. Thank you for taking my call. This is Randy from Soldotna.
Okay, Randy, what's on your mind?
I have a question, and I'm old school. All I have is a landline, thanks to my ex-wife. Long story. Put it bluntly, she made it so where technically when I went back to college, she wanted a home computer. Took her 2 years, but she finally got it. Went behind my back, got internet, put all my personal information on it. Day after graduation, 3 years, 6 degrees. I injured my back, couldn't work.
Okay.
After all that time. But somebody broke into the computer and Social Security said, you've been institutionalized, either federally, state, local, hospital, or nursing home. We're not paying you anymore. Well, come to find out, I was in the Illinois Federal Penitentiary.
Okay.
And this was back in 97.
All right. Can I ask you a question, Randy? What does this have to, can we bring it back to firearms here? Because
I know my mom always said I took short stories and turned them into novels. I've lived here in Alaska, Soldotna, since 61. I've grown up with guns, particularly Smith & Wessons. But I'm unfamiliar with the .30 Super caliber, and a store just had a sale on, and I wanted one, but I haven't found very much information since I don't have a smartphone, a computer. That's why I went into that short story. Sorry about it. And I was wondering if there's any way that you could send me information on the .30 Super.
I could tell you, I could give you a brief synopsis of what the .30 Super is. It's a brand new cartridge. It was put out by Federal early in 2022. It's the first handgun cartridge in the modern era designed from the ground up specifically for civilian use. It's a rimless tapered pistol cartridge. in 30 caliber. It's a bit larger than a 45 caliber ACP cartridge as far as length and everything. But yeah, there's it's a brand spanking new cartridge.
Yes, I know that part, but I was wanting specifics in that, and I was wondering if you had any that you could send me.
I don't have any that I can send you. I mean, how would I send it to you?
Okay, that's what I was checking on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd love to help you, Randy, but if you don't have internet, you don't have email, and I can't send it to you that way. But yeah, go to the library, go to the coffee shop who's got a terminal, and there's a whole bunch of stuff out there on the new 30 Super. I mean, people are asking if it's better than 9mm or anything else. It's an interesting cartridge. If you haven't taken a look at it, you can go out there and check it out. But 10, 15 minutes at a coffee shop or an internet cafe or the public library with a computer will get you all the information you need. All right. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate your call. All right. Let's go to it. I see that they call him Mr. Cheng. Chris Cheng, Topshot champion, season 4 of the television show Chop Shop. You were in a show called Chop Shop?
I mean, I could have been on a show called Chop Shop, and that would have been a very different goal versus Top Shot. But it's not Chop Shop sounds really fun too.
No, you know the people at the history. Can we make a pitch? We should build something around Chop Shop and then make a pitch for a new show, new reality show. We go out, we steal the cars. Yeah, we go out, we steal the cars, we cut them up on camera, we sell off the pieces. I mean, that'd make for a hell of a reality
reconstitute random pieces into like a monster car.
There you go, monster cars, whatever. Hey, I'm all about. You could see where my mind went. I immediately went to the let's be felons, kind of thing. So okay. Chris Cheng, Top Shot champion. So good to see you're feeling better, man. That COVID done whooped your butt, huh?
Yeah. With it, last month, I mean, there's just like, colds and stuff going around. Yep, I got hit with COVID, and but just relax, rest and hydrate, take it easy, and I'm back. Bouncing back.
Yeah. I'm bouncing back. All right, Chris, we were just talking about Kamala Harris, and we were talking about some of the, her positions over the last 5 years and how all of a sudden she's seen the light, right? I'm a gun owner. I own a Glock. You come into my house, I'll shoot you. All these things that, the folksiness and everything else. You're in San Francisco. You lived under the tenure at some point of Kamala Harris. Is she a friend of guns? Is she a friend of the gun culture? Is she somebody who you would trust to enshrine your Second Amendment rights, Chris Cheng?
Absolutely not. I lived here in San Francisco when she was district attorney, and as our DA, she was very anti-gun. And I remember seeing any news lines with Kamala Harris in relation to guns. It was always negative, right? She always painted not only firearms in a negative light, but by extension, she painted law-abiding gun owners in a negative light as well. And so when I hear her trying to do this sort of reboot of her persona during her presidential campaign, it sounds very much like political opportunism, right? That she's saying what she thinks she needs to say to get votes from some undecided, bucket of liberal-leaning voters, or maybe some conservative voters, right, who are undecided. Right. Maybe she's trying to
reach into the middle, right? That's what she's trying to do. Those undecided, undissuaded, who are kind of in the middle, one way or the other, and she's trying to say, "Look at me, I'm for guns. It's all okay."
Which, look, if you objectively think about it politically, we see politicians all the time do this, right? That they try and take, or they basically just flip their position, right, on a particular topic to try and appeal to an untapped demographic. But the problem, at least as I see it, with her position on the Second Amendment is like the Second Amendment is not something, it's not a civil right that you waffle on, or that you switch positions like so drastically, right? This, for me, when I'm looking at a political candidate or somebody in terms of how their support has been for or against the Second Amendment. I'm looking for consistency over the years, over the decades, right? And so the fact that she's now inconsistent here, right, on a key civil right, right, our Second Amendment, this inconsistency, it at minimum comes off as inauthentic. It's a political, opportunistic move on her part. At worst, right, she's literally pulling the wool over our eyes, and she's going to say, oh, right, she supports guns and gun ownership. And then, of course, if she wins the presidency, she's going to come in and probably enact a whole bunch of gun control that she and other gun grabbers and gun control activists have wanted for decades. Assault weapons bans, universal background checks, magazine capacity restrictions. The list goes on and on and on. So this is a little bit of a Trojan horse. Is maybe an apt analogy. She's trying to make her seem like she's one of us, right?
Yeah,
But she's
pandering, right? I mean, it's just straight out pandering. She's trying to find that middle ground voter who's still undecided. Maybe they don't find Trump palatable and they're trying to find some reason to vote for her. And she's trying to give them that one reason why they should vote for her. Well, she has a gun now, so now she's okay. And I hate Trump, so I'll vote for her because
let's back up a second, right? So she doesn't just have a gun now. It seems like she's had a gun for a while, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, it's like I just say sometimes you have to wonder, right, where this the hypocrisy comes from, right? Somebody who has owned a firearm for quite some time and is somehow okay with having a 10-round magazine capacity restriction, or know what? Interesting is maybe she has full capacity 17 or 19 round magazines for her Glock.
It's one rule for thee and another for me, right? She's in law enforcement, so she gets all the exemptions.
She would have the exemption.
Yeah. How did she get a Glock in California? Coleo Noir pointed out that Gen 1, 2, and 4s are completely outlawed. Only Gen 3s were legal in California. If you're a civilian, does she still have a piece of state of California property in her possession? Did she leave office and keep her gun? I mean, it raises a lot of questions. And again, it goes back to how pandering is this? And the fact is that her campaign, Cam Edwards was talking about this yesterday. Her campaign, although they've kind of refuted the whole buyback thing, that she no longer believes in that, they refuse to answer the question about whether she would still ban pistols. They asked her about the San Francisco pistol ban that she supported, and they didn't even waffle it. They just refused to answer the question. That's
been another concerning trend that we've been seeing from the Harris camp is her general refusal to engage the media. Number two, her failure to directly answer a lot of questions, right? We really don't have a clear idea of what it stands for in terms of policies and positions. And we hear a lot of these kind of autobiographical, soliloquies about how she grew up in a middle income area and people care about their lawns. And it's like, why that doesn't impact me, right?
It's a non sequitur. It's like, what's your policy on foreign trade and tariffs? Well, I was raised in the middle class, and so that's why I support. What? I mean, how do you? It's so frustrating to watch. All right, Chris, hold the line for a second. Hold the thought. We're going to come back to this. We gotta jump. Chris Cheng is our guest, Topshot champion from season 4 of the television show Top Shot. We're going to be back with him in just a moment. We'll talk about what he's been doing other than recovering from being sick, and see what else is going on, his other thoughts on things that are going on with the Supreme Court and more. We'll return in a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Chris Cheng, our guest. Back with more after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Chris needs to grow a beard to be on this program.
Yeah, and I've talked about how just disgusting that will look. If you required me to have a beard, I would just get a fake one. I would get a fake one
Just
and
get it
tape
one.
it on.
Little
Yeah.
spirit goblet. My wife, she knits a lot, and one year she knitted all my sons these hats, these knit hats, with a knitted beard around the face that you
Heck
could
yeah.
had little buttons, and so we all walked around. I had my beard, and my two boys had their big brown knitted beards. It was the funniest
I
thing.
would buy one of those. I'll
Yeah.
if your wife gets into Etsy, I'll buy one off of her Etsy.
Oh, that would be so funny, Chris Cheng. What else has been going on, my friend? What's happening in your world? I mean, again, other than recovery, what are you working on? What's going on?
I think two things to mention. The first is a few weeks ago, I was in Vegas for a fun shoot for the Asian Pacific American Gun Owners Association, APA, GOA. Lot of letters. Sometimes hard to remember.
I wanted to talk to you about that. That's a lot of letters, Chris. I mean,
It's a lot of letters, but anyway, APA GOA. I'm a co-founding board member. The group was founded during the pandemic in response to the extreme rise of violence that we were seeing here in San Francisco, in LA, in New York, mostly major cities. And I saw an unprecedented increase of Asian Americans looking to buy their first firearm, to go learn how to shoot. And they wanted a community, right? An organization to learn, right? To be educated, to be trained. And so APA GOA was born from from this very low point in our country's history. But the bright side is, right, we've created APA GOA. We're in our third year. We have hundreds of members all across the country. And we met in Vegas to do this fun shoot, right? It was sponsored by Arms Corps / Rock Island Armory. And those firearms, they brought all of their guns that were available to try out. There was firearms instruction. We had an action shooting range. And Marco Cabahug, he's a sponsored shooter for Arms Corps and for Terran Tactical Innovations. Him and I and a few others were there to kind of help help train, just sort of be a support function for attendees. And we just had a great time in Vegas. It was hot. It was like 102, 103 degrees outside, which Alaska, you guys may not understand those high numbers.
That's a big nope for me. I'm just saying right now, that's a big nope. I could put on, at 20 degrees, at 15 degrees, at 0, I could put on another jacket or a sweater. When it's 102, you do not want to see me in my tidy whities running around on the range, okay? Because that's what I'd have to be. I'd be like, oh no, I joke about it, but I actually did a combat rifle course at Front Sight, and it was in October, so it wasn't quite 100 degrees, but it was like 97 or something.
Yeah,
I will say that was pretty hot, and I weighed a bit more than I do now, so I was hauling that butt around the yard and the range. That's definitely, you got to be dedicated sometimes to go out there and do that.
So the other thing that's been going on, I actually got an email yesterday from the NSSF, which is the National Shooting Sports Foundation. It's the firearms industry trade group, and they are releasing a campaign called Real Solutions. And the main goal of Real Solutions is to show different sides of the gun community, right? That there's Americans from all walks of life, different religions, sexual orientations, races, ethnicities, socioeconomic status, women, et cetera, et cetera. And so, this campaign is designed to attract new gun owners, new people into the shooting sports. And so,
let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's get we're about to rejoin, so let's rejoin and we'll pick it up with there, because
sounds good.
This again, I'm all about bringing new people into the gun culture, whatever we can do. I want to find all those gun curious people out there and introduce them to something fun and exciting. So let's get to it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Here we go. You know what's coming.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
You know, if we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
That's right. Assault radio. That's what we do. Chris Cheng has no murder guns. It's surprising. You live in California.
No murder guns.
And you have no murder guns in your safe. How does that? I mean, that's all I heard. I heard that that's all you guys got down there. But apparently,
I took blue tape and I put protection. I wrote protection on the blue tape and I put the protection tape on the gun, so it's clearly marked as a protection gun.
Yeah, and that will hold up in court, by the way. I'm just saying. Right
absolutely.
It's
absolutely. I'm not a lawyer, but absolutely it will.
It's absolutely. Nor does he play one on TV. Your Honor, this is clearly marked as a protection gun. That's exactly what it is. Chris Cheng, Top Shot champion from the show Top Shot, season 4. He's the champion. Beat all. We haven't talked about Top Shot in a long time, but you beat out all different kinds of folks. I mean, you were a software guy who basically had no professional training, no real, you're going against SWAT guys, Marine snipers, Navy SEALs. I mean, whatever was out there, it was like the best of the best. And I will say people were a little shook when you took the show and ended up the champion, because they're like, where did this guy come from? Quite an experience, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, it was so fun for me to really dive deep into a passion of mine, right, and really dig into the finer points of firearms training and marksmanship. And I have to thank the gun community for training. It was a combination of YouTube, blogs, discussion forums, and then of course, on-site training, at my local range. But yeah, I just have such fond memories of Top Shot. And it has opened up doors that I never thought would be open to me in my life. And
right,
with being on the Michael Dukes Show is one of the highlights.
Well, I'm sure that's, you're going to mark that one on your resume, I'm sure. Anyway, of course, Chris has also written a book called Shoot to Win, which is tips and tricks for new beginners and shooters, and you should go out there and check it out. It's in its second or third printing now, isn't it?
Second edition, yeah.
Second edition. So yeah, you should go out and check it out. Chris is also part of the deal there, is you became a spokesperson for the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the industry trade group for the gun industry. And they're working on some new stuff. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so one of the many hats that I wear is as a safety ambassador for the firearm industry, and there's this new program called Real Solutions that the NSSF has recently released, and the whole goal of Real Solutions is to show the world that there are different facets to the gun community. Right, there's Americans from all different walks of life. Whether you're, a female, different race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation. And so there are profiles of different gun owners in the Real Solutions campaign. Yours truly is one of many who've been profiled. One fun thing about Real Solutions is we were in Times Square on one of the big screens for 3 months this past summer. So
wow.
One of the country's biggest quote unquote gun-free zones, we were still able to bring a positive pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment message to all of these Times Square goers. And so the Real Solutions campaign is very exciting. The only way our industry and our community is going to survive is if we think about the next generation of gun owners, of sporters. And so Real Solutions is a way to reach out and connect to folks who may not have considered previously learning how to shoot or owning a gun. The world obviously continues to change, but most notably, my Jewish friends, over the past year, right, we just saw the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks in Israel, and that has had a massive ripple effect here in America with American Jews. And I've had a lot of my Jewish friends ask me, hey, where's a good place for me to go learn how to shoot, to buy my first gun? And so I've been doing my best to support my Jewish American friends and make sure that they, not only feel safe, but that they are equipped with the knowledge and confidence, right, around how to safely operate and use a firearm in self-defense if needed.
Right. Well, we're all rooftop Koreans now, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that was during the LA riots. The rooftop Korean business owners got on the rooftop, and they're the only ones that were able to defend their property because they had guns and they protected themselves. And I guess that would say, there's been a couple silver linings out of COVID. Remote work was one. The explosion of homeschooling is probably another. And I would say the third is that many Americans embrace the idea of personal self-defense. We saw more guns fly off the shelves and more new gun owners in that 3 or 4 year period than we had ever seen before. And a hugely diverse crowd, minorities and women and that had before that never really been part of that culture. And so it's one of the few silver linings, I think, that came out of that. And I'm excited to see what this campaign is about. Is it a public campaign? Are they advertising it? Is it on YouTube? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's very much a public campaign. So, Real Solutions, you might see some ads, out in like billboards, perhaps radio and like some like localized TV ads kind of thing. Keep an eye out for Real Solutions. And then, you mentioned rooftop Koreans. I'm so inspired by that story. I'm going to write a book about that one day, and the rooftop Korean story and the LA riots. And, it's so right now I'm writing my next book, which is on the Purple Heart Battalion, which is a group of Chinese Americans who volunteered out of the World War II incarceration camps here in our country. And they're called the Purple Heart Battalion because they are the most decorated unit in U.S. military history. And for me, that's so inspiring. I'm writing a war novel about their achievements, and it's all inspired by true stories. But there's this not just pride, but this this thread of we learn from history, right? And the bravery shown by the Purple Heart Battalion and the bravery shown by these rooftop Koreans, right, in 1992. I think are just amazing stories of inspiration that really tie back into this notion of the Second Amendment is for, it's not just self-defense, but also to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, right? And tyranny can mean right. It's the disproportionate application of power, right? That's the definition of tyranny. And so sometimes it's the explicit disproportionate application of power, but sometimes it's no power at all, right?
I can't wait for this book, and we'll be talking about it more and more as we go through. But we're out of time. Chris Cheng, Top Shot champion, thanks so much. Hold the line, folks. We got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Sorry about that, Chris. I was up against
time is immutable. It just keeps on going.
I keep saying this is the fastest 2 hours in radio because people are like, the hour's over already? How did we do? Yeah. But no, I think that the story of the rooftop Koreans is a fascinating story in self-determination. And you look at everybody who around that, especially that whole time around LA, they lambat, where are the police? Where are the thing? They need to protect me, blah, blah, blah. And these people were like, we've come here. We've established the American dream. We've built something and we're going to protect it. And we're going to do whatever we can to protect it. And it is such a strong story of self-determination. I'm always impressed by that. And I think it would make a fascinating book for sure. But the World War II Purple Heart Battalion, there are some amazing stories in there as well. For those who don't know it, there are some amazing stories in that. And I look forward to seeing what else is going on there.
I just had something really incredible happen to me last week. So I get a package in the mail, and it is from the daughter Medal of Honor recipient. His name's George Sakato. He was one of 22 Medal of Honor recipients in the Purple Heart Battalion. His daughter and we were in Italy earlier this year on a World War II trip, going to the battlefield tours in Italy. We became really great friends, and she mailed me. I get this package in the mail. It's 6 volumes of a DC comic about the rescue of the Lost Battalion, which is the Texas National Guard. They got trapped in the French mountains, and the Purple Heart Battalion was tasked with saving them. It's one of the most incredible sort of stories of World War II. But these DC Comics, she just, they're in mint condition. She mailed them to me, and she mailed a challenge coin from George Sakato's Medal of Honor, like ceremony, right? So I have this like challenge coin that's associated with Medal of Honor recipients. I was like, what is going on? And she's telling me like, hey, I need to find some good homes for her father's memorabilia, right? For people who will appreciate it and find it useful. So I was so humbled and so honored. And oh God, I'm getting a little emotional just like thinking about it, right? To like have that kind of connection to the past. So George Sakato, I encourage listeners to Google that name, George Sakato, and just read briefly or at length about his accomplishments, his bravery, his heroism. He's going to be a character in my book will be deeply inspired by him and his actions.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, there's certain things, and World War II has always been an area of study of mine. I found it fascinating that we as a country, we faced a lot of challenges, a lot of wars, Revolutionary, Civil, First War, there's everything else. But to me, World War II just kind of epitomizes that American spirit and attitude of coming together and doing whatever it takes and making it happen. I was moving some stuff around the other day, and I still have a bag in my nightstand of sand from Iwo Jima, which to me is, I collected it when I went down to Guam here, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. I went on a junket with the National Guard, and I got a bag of sand from Iwo Jima. And to me, that's hallowed ground, right? You just think of the sacrifice and the 50,000 people, Marines who went up the slopes of that, and the people on Tarawa and Midway, and some of the battles there, and then the Bulge and Bastogne and all these other places where these guys just fought and fought and fought. And I'm just I got geese right now just thinking about it, because these guys, they're the real deal. They did it. And they're fascinating stories, and we should not forget them.
Yeah, and with the Purple Heart Battalion, this is one of I think the untold story, right? It's one of the many untold stories of World War II. And I think I'll be honest, right, before learning about the Purple Heart Battalion, I kind of assumed that World War II has been, right, that we've sort of heard everything there is to hear about World War II, but we only really know about the major battles, right? All this like D-Day, Normandy, Iwo Jima, right? It's like we know a lot about that, but what about Italy, right? Like I never really gave the Italian campaign much thought, didn't really learn much about it in school, but the Purple Heart Battalion, they primarily fought in Italy and a little bit in France, but Italy was the primary, theater for me to learn about the Italian campaign. There are some incredible stories. High level, the Purple Heart Battalion, they fought alongside the Buffalo Soldiers and Tuskegee Airmen. Well, so to see these two segregated units at one point like converge on the battlefield,
right.
That's wild.
You've sold me on it. I want the book. Just shut up and start writing. That's all I'm saying. Get it
I'm on
done.
chapter 3, so I'm on the way.
All right, Chris Cheng, Topshot champion. Thank you so much, my friend. I'm glad to see you're better. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Thanks so much. See you next time.
All right, thanks so much for coming on board. All right, folks, we're coming up on to it. We've got my phone is buzzing, and that means that here we go. All right, the weekend is here. You know it. You love it. You want to be it. Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com always comes on, although his website's not up. He doesn't have wafflemovies.com anymore because he's got a life and he just can't keep up with it. But that's okay because he comes on every week to share with us. Screw all those other people on the internet. Willie is for us. He joins us right now. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Well, that's exactly it. I want this right here, this to be special.
It's special. It feels so special.
It really is special.
It's getting creepy, Willie. All right. Let's dive into the entertainment news. Okay, it's Firearms Friday, so we got to first talk about Alec Baldwin and the cursed movie, I guess. I don't know, Rust. I guess it's finally coming out.
It is. It's going to finally premiere this fall. It's going to be in November at the Camera Image International Film Festival in Poland. And Alec Baldwin is not going to be at that premiere.
Okay.
So this is going to focus in on the writer and director Joel Souza, who also was struck by the bullet that killed Helena Hutchins. And he's going to appear at a panel discussion about the movie. And there's going to be discussions about safety on the set, the work cinematographers go through to finish their projects. They're going to talk a little bit about, well, how did they finish this project after such a horrible tragedy? And one of the things that they've been saying is that Hutchins wanted her movie to really go to this Camera Image festival, because it really is a festival that celebrates cinematographers and the work that they do. So it is going to be premiering in November. I don't think it's got a release date. I don't think it even has a distributor yet. They're probably going to try to take it through the film festival circuit and see if somebody picks it up.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch this for Jensen Ackles. I like him as an actor. I loved him on Supernatural, and I know he's in this. I wouldn't watch it for Alec Baldwin anymore, but I guess we'll have to see. I haven't seen a good Western in a while. Maybe this is good. Maybe it's not. We'll have to see, but I probably will just wait for it to hit the stream. I won't pay any money to see. You know what I mean? It just irritates me.
Frankly, the likelihood is you're going to get this on video on demand. Like, you're going to pay for it. Like, you're going to go to Amazon Prime and rent it before I think you're going to get a distribution deal. Because I'm with you. It's the cursed movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can get this into theaters, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Uncursed movies. Well, Michael Bay is the king of uncursed movies. He's the king of explosions. You remember Michael Bay? He kind of hit the spotlight back in the 90s. And I mean, The Rock and Con Air, and of course the Bad Boys movies and everything else. Well, Bad Boy himself, Slap-O-Matic Will Smith, is teaming back up with Michael Bay, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say, this sounds like a really interesting movie. Okay, so they are going to reunite for a Netflix movie. It's going to be called Fast and Loose. Will Smith plays a man who wakes up one day in Tijuana with no memories, like many people who have woken up in Tijuana.
That's never a good sign. It's never a good sign when you wake up in Tijuana with no memories.
However, his is a little bit more dangerous. As he's putting his life together, he discovers not only is he an undercover CIA agent, he's also a local crime kingpin.
He was an overachiever.
He really was. He's playing both sides of the fence. He's basically Jack Nicholson from The Departed. Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
By the way, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Michael Bay and Will Smith have done well together. I mean, every one of their movies has made good money and they've been blockbusters. Michael Bay himself has done a lot of good stuff that I've really enjoyed.
He revived Transformers, for God's sake.
Exactly.
Michael Bay did.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot. But because, I mean, to me, it'll always be like Con Air and The Rock. Those movies were like,
which are such good movies.
Yeah, and they were like, wow, where did those come from? Because it was like a whole new cinematography style, fast cuts and all different kinds. Before it became the norm, he was the king of that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'll watch it. It sounds good. I like that. It sounds like a good premise, kind of cool. It's not a rehash anyway. It's not Bad Boys 5 or 6 or 7. So I'm down with that. That'll be good. When's this supposed to come out?
We do not have a date yet. We do not have a date.
I'm disappointed in you, Willie. Come on, you're supposed to have.
No, I don't think they even have a date.
Okay.
Like they just announced that they're doing it. Give them a year or two.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, give them a year or two. I may not live that long, Willie. Come on. All right. Speaking of good directors, another one. The king of Batman and Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan is back. He's got a new movie.
Oh, well, then let me tell you, now you're going to be proud of me. To be released on July 17th, 2026, I'm not
years?
making that date up.
2 years?
That really is the date. That really is the date. Yes, Christopher Nolan's back. He is going to do his next movie. He left Warner Brothers, as you know, when he was all upset that Warner Brothers during COVID was releasing a lot of movies to streaming and cinemas at the same time, and he said that was just a betrayal of the artist. And he moved over to Universal and did Oppenheimer there, and now he's going to do this movie. And there is a very high likelihood it is going to star none other than Mr. Matt Damon.
Okay, all right.
And we have a rumor about the story.
Okay, what is that?
A remake of the 1960s British TV series The Prisoner, which is about a government agent who gets imprisoned in a strange futuristic community.
I remember seeing that, and then there was a remake.
Yes.
There was a remake with Haley Atwell.
There was.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was good. I really enjoyed that. That might be fun. I mean, I'd love him for doing something new, but I mean, Christopher Nolan at the helm, that sounds pretty, even if it is Matt Damon, who's to me is okay, but not, not, I mean, he's an Academy Award winner. I guess I shouldn't complain, but
yeah. Well, and I think that they had a good working relationship from Oppenheimer, and Nolan is a guy that wants to surround himself with people that he trusts and that he can work with well, and that's a smart move for him.
Yeah.
Smart move.
So 2 years. I only have to wait 2 years for that one.
2 years, man. Well, I mean, at this point, it's like a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we're in October,
it's a year.
Christmas is gonna fly by.
It's a year and 10 months, Willie. Okay. It's
but Christmas is gonna fly by. It's gonna be gone before you know it. It's gonna be January. Then we're at a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And then
right.
it's like summer.
All right. Okay. I see. You're trying to schmooze it for me. Final story for today. The best news of all. Krispy Kreme wins Halloween. What do you mean? Tell me, what are we talking about here?
As if I didn't already love Krispy Kreme as it is, they are doing something monumental, fantastic, absolutely mind-blowing. They're going to have, coming to a Krispy Kreme near you, Ghostbusters-themed donuts. Yes, my friends, they're going to have Ghostbuster donuts. Now, they're going to come in a little box that resembles the ghost traps that the Ghostbusters use.
Okay.
And in that box, get ready, because I got it for you here.
You got the descriptions. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. We got the Ghostbusters cookie and cream, which is going to be glazed with Oreo pieces and an Oreo buttercream and a little candy no ghost logo right on it.
Okay.
There's going to be a Slimer donut. Which is unglazed. Oh yeah, unglazed, but it's filled with a lemon flavored green filling with purple and green icing and little Slimer candy pieces on it. Then we have the Ecto Sprinkled donut, which is an original glazed donut dipped in orange icing and neon sprinkles. But my friends, we have saved the best for last. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man pull-apart donut.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Powdered glazed donut tops, or donut dots, topped with marshmallow-flavored buttercream and a Stay Puft Marshmallow candy on top. It looks like the little Stay Puft Marshmallow guy.
We are so geeking out about donuts.
This is so awesome.
Well, anybody who listens to this show knows that I have a weakness for donuts. Although Krispy Kreme is not in my top favorite, they do have some good ones. But that pull apart, I sound like I'm going to have to try that for sure. So, this is coming all month or what?
This is coming through while supplies last, as they say. So yeah, I used to. Well, I've told you this, but when I lived in DC, I lived at my subway stop, right at the top of the subway stop was the Krispy Kreme donut. But now I'm in Dunkin' Donuts territory. So I got to drive an hour to get to Krispy Kreme.
Oh no.
But no. I'm gonna.
You're in enemy territory. Man, if there was one on my way to work, I would weigh 500 pounds if it was right there. All right, let's move over to the movies. We got two movies in theaters, Saturday Night Live and the Piece by Piece, and then we've got 2 series on the streams, Disclaimer and Teacup. Where you start? Where you want to start here?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the theater. Let's talk about Piece by Piece.
Okay.
This is an interesting idea. It is the life story of artist Pharrell Williams, but told in Lego form. Now, my original thought was, I mean, Pharrell Williams is very talented. He has some nice music, but
Right.
why are we getting a biography about him? Why are we getting a documentary? He's not Abraham Lincoln.
Right,
He's
right,
not
right.
Oppenheimer. He's not Johnny Cash. But darn it, if this thing doesn't just draw you in, because it is so well told. I mean, it's a nice story, a kid, who's working really hard, trying to achieve what he can in the business, how much he loves music, starting off as kind of like a producer for other people, growing into becoming his own artist. But the way they tell it with the Legos is so awesome. Like they make this whole big deal, like he talks about, and he's the narrator of the movie. He talks about how when he thinks about music, he sees it in colors. Well, the Legos make that come to life for you and makes it sound like something a lot more interesting than just some artsy guy going, I see music in colors. No, you're going to see it come to life. And they do all of his big songs. And, it's almost like little mini videos as we see some of the different songs. And what's really fun for me, the Lego versions of some of the people who are interviewed in this movie, including Gwen Stefani, Jay-Z, and Justin Timberlake.
Well, that must be fun. All right, -1 to 4 waffles for Piece by Piece.
I'm at 3.5 waffles.
Wow.
I think it leans a little bit too much on the musical performances. But you know what? Other than that, the story's pretty good.
All right. Okay. Well, let's move over to Saturday night in theaters, which is the very first episode of Saturday Night Live in 1975. Give me a quick rundown on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the quick story is we're supposed to be seeing the 90 minutes, and that's about how long the movie is, right? The 90 minutes before Saturday Night Live debuts in 1975, and all the craziness around it. And it's not the completely true story. I mean, they're trying to kind of tell some of the stories of the origins of Saturday Night Live and some of the crazy things that happened in the first season, and pretend that they all kind of happened that night. So that goes a little bit too far there. I think it ratchets up the drama a bit for storytelling purposes, which, you got to do it. You got to have an interesting movie. But, I enjoyed watching this Gabriel LaBelle, who plays Lorne Michaels, who is like the perfect Lorne Michaels. Like he's just got the sound and the attitude and he's calm in the face of disasters all around him. I'm at 3 waffles for Saturday night.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you have to be a Saturday Night Live fan to enjoy it, you think, or?
I think it helps. I think
Okay.
it helps because,
Okay.
because let's face it, you're watching because you want to see the stories about Belushi and Chevy
Yeah.
Chase and,
Right.
Dan Aykroyd and, how were they when they were first getting started? I mean,
Right.
that's a key part of it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got about 2 minutes here. We got 2 left.
Okay.
So I'll leave you to choose your poison here.
All right, I will quickly go through Teacup, which is the new Peacock series. As I told you, every streaming service wants to scare you during October for Halloween, and this is Peacock's attempt, but they're kind of failing. It's like this group of neighbors who are all trapped on this little farm where a mysterious threat starts to endanger their lives. Why? There's lots of weird stuff happening around them. There's some sort of demon dog out there. There's some lady who acts like she has rabies, and now she's like passed it on to their kid. All the electricity's messed up. The cars won't start. And there's some dude who's drawn a circle around the property and told them, don't leave. And I'm telling you, when you see what happens when you leave, you're not going to leave either. But it needs more stuff to happen.
Right.
It's a very slow-moving series. It's trying to build the tension, but they don't have that much longer to go. I'm at 2 waffles. I think they got to step up the pace, man.
Okay. Step up the pace. And that leaves off of Apple TV the new series Disclaimer.
Yeah, so this is going to be 7 episodes. It's Kate Blanchett. She's kind of this famous journalist who receives a book in the mail, and it much too closely resembles her life and a big secret that she's kept hidden for 20 years. So now we're wondering, where did it come from and what's she going to do about it? And it's kind of artsy in the sense that they're talking about narratives and
right.
What narrators can you trust. I think that it's the acting that really saves it. I'm at 3 waffles because I think it's an interesting mystery, but I think Kevin Kline and Kate Blanchett really saved the series.
All right, only 2 episodes so far, but 1 each week. You know we're going to have to wait to watch that together when it's all said and done. All right, Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you coming on board. Folks, we'll see you on Monday. Ooh, man, almost hit the buzzer there. Almost hit the end.
I could hear it. I could hear it coming.
Yeah.
I have that spidey sense now. I'm like, I'm really running out of time. I'm running out of time bad.
Are you telling me you can't hear the music? Because the music is in the background when I put you.
Well, I do hear myself getting played off like it is the Oscars. And I appreciate that. Unlike all those stuffy stars in Hollywood who are like, stop the music, this is my moment. No, I understand. We have to move on with life.
Yeah.
I appreciate the music. I need to know the music.
I was looking for one of those big hooks, and I just couldn't find one to pull you off stage. I do want to go back to Teacup real quick because Terry was talking about this. Is the series complete? But you said it's got a couple episodes left, and that's it, or?
Well, it's 8 episodes total, and they're doing 2 episodes every week leading up to the season or the series finale. I don't know. They hope it's the season finale, but I think it's going to be the series finale on Halloween. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have 8 episodes to go, there's only so much drawing out you can do here, unless you just don't have enough material. Pardon me. And I think that there's enough here to really kind of ratchet up the action and really start to get us on the edge of our seats. I feel like they're teasing that there's some sort of dirty little secret among the neighbors that is going to just shock everybody and ruin lives and ruin relationships, and you kind of figure it out like really super quick. So there's no big surprise there. Then, we're trying to figure out, well, what is going on around them? What's this demon dog thing? Why is this one woman so crazy? And then basically passes it to the young son. Now the young son's starting to act that way. And he's starting to get violent as he's trapped in this area with the rest of the neighbors. Then, and some of the characters are kind of silly. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. There's one family that's kind of trapped on this farm, and they're supposed to be like the conservatives, and they treat them cartoonishly, and it really ticks me off.
Oh, man.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
And that kind of turned me off early on.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it's going. But like I said, I mean, it finds enough moments to at least keep you intrigued. Like I said, I mean, literally, it's like there's other people in town who have determined like they got to keep these people on this farm, and they've made it very clear, don't you go anywhere. And like I said, when somebody crosses the line, that's the last time anybody's going to cross the line.
Yeah, don't cross the line. Don't cross the streams, baby. All right. Well, we'll have to watch out for that one. And the other one is kind of artsy, right? Disclaimer is kind of more artsy and intellectual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Apple TV Plus.
I'm sorry.
They want to go for that highbrow. Okay.
So sorry, I don't have Apple TV Plus, so I can't watch it. I did catch a couple episodes of the Foundation series, which
is that good? Because I've been hearing about this.
It was really interesting, and I just got waylaid and I never got back to it because Terry didn't care, and I was watching it when she wasn't there. But it was interesting, and of course the Foundation series from Asimov it's a huge deal. So I will get back to it, but the production quality was really good and good actors. So we'll see. I still haven't watched The Fountainhead. That's the other one that everybody has raved about, and I still haven't watched. So we'll have to get back to that as well. All right. Well, Willie, thank you so much, my friend. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you for the weekend. I hope you enjoy your long weekend for this go around. Thank you so much.
Oh, very excited about it. And it's good to talk to you too. I'll see you next week. I will be here next week. I swear.
Okay. All right. Folks, Monday, I think Jubilee Underwood's going to be with us on Monday. I believe. Fingers crossed. We'll see if that works out. Otherwise, it'll just be you and me, and we'll figure it all out. All right. Thanks for coming in and joining us. We will see you either way. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Be kind. Love one another. Live well.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
you.